Hello, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. It is a great honor to be here today, welcoming you to Riverside's second annual recovery celebration, sponsored by Connect to Recovery program, our C2R program here at Riverside. And thank you all for being here today. Um, as we get started, I just wanted to recognize Scott Bach, who was the creator, founder of Riverside Community Care, who very sadly passed away just a few short weeks ago. Scott has left an enormous legacy. He has helped thousands and thousands of people struggling with behavioral health problems, and his mission was to expand our reach to help those struggling with substance use. So thank you, Scott. I know that your legacy will be eternal. Today, we are going to be highlighting multiple pathways of recovery. There isn't just one way to move from using to sobriety to quality of life. There are multiple paths, and we are so honored to have three remarkable speakers today. Val Comerford, friend and partner of Riverside, personal dual recovery. Justin Clancy, an artist and person in long-term recovery. And Evan Dahlstedt, former person who was served here by Connect to Recovery. And I am so delighted that he is also here to tell you a little bit about how we've been doing, helping other people as well. At the end of today's recording and seminar and recovery celebration, whatever you want to call it, because there are multiple pathways of recovery, multiple names for what we're doing. But at the end, we're going to have a moment of silence for the loved ones lost to addiction. And I'm going to invite people to put their names in the chat. You can start at any time, put their names in the chat. I just want people to recognize what has happened in 2020. 93,000 fatal overdose deaths. 93,000. That's up 30% from 2019. COVID was not an immunization against substance use and not an immunization against the opioid overdoses. So it is even more vital that we're here. 250 lives per day. So it is so important that we are here sharing with each other. And I encourage you, once you get this recording, share it, please, with your entire world. Let me now have the great honor of turning it over to Alan Meister. Alan, if you could introduce yourself, let people know, and everybody there, enjoy the event. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dr. Joe, and welcome to everyone. We're glad that you've joined us this afternoon. My name is Alan Meister, and I am a friend and ally of recovery, and have personally practiced recovery principles in my life for more than 30 years. I am also the program director for Connect to Recovery here at Riverside Community Care. Connect to Recovery is a community-based program that supports individuals by connecting them to community resources and providing support and encouragement in their recovery journey. Some of the services we provide include Recovery Support Navigator, recovery coaching, and the Community Support Program. And I am also really excited to say that soon we'll be providing specialized services for justice-involved individuals in Norfolk County. So we're really looking forward to that as well. Here at Connect to Recovery, we train all of our staff as recovery coaches because we believe in the peer model that utilizes lived experience to encourage and support individuals in recovery. We recognize that each recovery coach has their own journey that can be used to support individuals they work with to create their own unique journeys. Too often, treatment involves putting a person in a box and expecting them to flourish. By embracing many pathways of recovery, we see the strengths and positives in individuals that others do not. I'm reminded of a story. Most of us are familiar with the Hope Diamond, which is on display at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington. Today, the Hope Diamond is valued at around $230 million. So it has quite a bit of value to it. When the Hope Diamond was gifted to the Smithsonian Museum, it was sent from New York City to Washington. It was packaged in a protective box, wrapped in a plain brown paper wrapper, and was sent via U.S. Postal Service. That's right, it was sent through the mail. Only a handful of people knew what was inside that package. By all appearances, it was just one of many ordinary packages, but there was nothing ordinary about it at all. Looking closer at that box would have revealed a gem of great value inside. Ordinary packages get treated in ordinary ways. Often, persons in recovery get treated in very ordinary ways. When we look closer and tear off the plain paper wrapper, we see what is inside the individual. We discover that there's great value in the person. As recovery support navigators and recovery coaches, we help individuals see that value in themselves and encourage them to pursue a life journey that reflects that value. In a word, we give them hope. But my words don't tell the whole story. So I would like to share with you a video montage of several individuals who have been helped by Connect to Recovery. Listen to their words as they share about the value of their recovery.
Recovery to me is a change of beliefs, a belief system. So one person, you can stop using drugs. That's one thing. But recovery means to change the character defects, your belief system, and things that are in your life that's prohibiting you from being successful. Recovery means life to you.
It means first and foremost freedom, not feeling like I'm stuck all the time and living in a web of lies. It means that I can have my family and friends trust me, I'm relied on. It's just a weight off of my shoulders completely. And most importantly, I can be present for my family and friends and for my kids. I was never present for my kids, and that breaks my heart. It feels good to be there for everybody.
Never thought I needed mental health care, but you know what? After going through sessions, I realized it was a wonderful thing and it was doing me justice. I was doing very well, much better under the mental health care. I had 8 months sober. Yay, woohoo, yay me. I can't think about how much progress we've made already. It's just been amazing. I can't even tell you how amazing it is. I feel like a completely different person.
Being sober to me is such an empowering feeling. I can't even explain it. It's just being with my family, being happy, loving my son, actually being there for him.
Recovery means a second chance. It's given me a chance to live my life right. I thank God every day for my faith, for my family, my friends, and also the support at Riverside. I have finally not felt so alone. I have been sober for myself, and I've been sober for my son.
What does recovery mean to me? It means living a life worth living.
Powerful. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Connect to Recovery, and all of those who are helping people find their freedom. It is really about value. How many folks who are struggling with substance use think they have no value? Addiction is not about morality. It's about mortality. It's just the way the brain works. I want to turn it over to Kim Fisher. Kim, you're on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimberly Fisher. I'm the Vice President of the Behavioral Health Services Division here at Riverside Community Care. I do this work like many people because I lost someone close to me in 2007. And since then, I've dedicated my life to trying to help others struggling with substance use. Each provider or support type service has their role or their niche within the substance use continuum of care. At Riverside, I think that our purpose is really in that continuum is addressing the underlying stuff, like the trauma, the depression that really has likely had a substantial role in someone starting to use substances in the first place. And without working on what's underneath the addiction, the cycling of relapse and its consequences continue. Our skilled co-occurring therapists provide individual counseling, a pretty robust group curriculum alongside the Connect to Recovery coaches and navigators, and our prescribers who provide medication-assisted recovery with psychiatric medications. They all form a team around the people that we serve. There's no wrong door to treatment, and we're here to help you whether it's one service or an entire team. I'm really excited to introduce you to Val Comerford. She's a long-term friend of Riverside, a pioneer in the field, and just an incredible human. Val is a certified peer specialist and forensic peer specialist, and she's worked in and been a part of the mental health system since 1993. In her current position, Val serves as the Director of Recovery and Employment for DMH in the Central Mass area. She's provided support, consultation, and supervision to both the community and hospital-based peer work service and dual recovery efforts. Val's an early pioneer in the peer movement, as well as a strong leader and advocate for Dual Recovery Anonymous. She's been open about her lived experience of mental health issues and addiction recovery way before it was fashionable and okay to do so. She's demonstrated a willingness to share her story when it's helpful for others to hear. I'll turn it over to Val now to share her experience of dual recovery and multiple pathways.
Thank you very much, Kim. That was a very nice opening. And I'd like to say hello to everyone and to thank Riverside for inviting me to be a part of this incredible recovery celebration. I was here last year for this celebration, and it's an honor to be here as a panelist. I am a person in long-term recovery. I'm in addiction recovery, trauma recovery, and mental health recovery. And I used alcohol and drugs as freely as one would take a breath of air. I never once considered stopping. No jackpots, no arrests, no visit to the ER made me think that stopping was what I needed to do. It never once occurred to me. That's what denial truly is. Until one day, I did stop. I started this journey 36 years ago, believing that my only problem was alcohol and drugs. I stopped using and started to feel better. Some people call it a pink cloud. I was no longer sick every day. I had friends again. My employer loved me. My family began to trust me, and I could look in the mirror with just a little bit of pride and maybe a little bit of self-love. Then something happened to me. At about 5 years of sobriety, I had a serious breakdown when I was attending a concert right up the road at the former Great Woods Concert Center. It was terrifying. I had no idea what was happening to me. I just started to panic. I couldn't breathe. I was sweating. My visual field was distorted. There were noises in my head. It was just uncontrollable. And at that time, I was referred to a hospital and admitted to a psychiatric hospital. And when I was there, I was very fortunate to be connected to a psychiatrist who sat down and talked to me. I was so frustrated, like what could be happening to me? I was sober, I was going to meetings, I was doing all the right things, and then this happened, and I had no idea why it happened. And the psychiatrist sat down very thoughtfully and explained that I had what was called a dual illness. He called it a co-occurring disorder at that time. I don't use that term because I'm not a clinician. But he said to me, if you can get treatment for both the mental health problems that you're experiencing and your addiction, you can become well. And I believed him because he was the first person to kind of explain what was happening to me. And then I began my pursuit for something that I could find once I left the hospital that could help me the same way that AA and NA had helped me in the community with my addiction. I needed to find something that would help me so that I could support both the mental health problems and the addiction. You know, AA is fantastic. NA is fantastic. All of those 12 steps are fantastic and they have been helpful to me, but they have a singleness of purpose. You don't go to AA to talk about your mental health problems. You don't go to NA to talk about your mental health problems. You go there to talk about booze and drugs. And I understood that, but I needed to find something where I could talk about both problems. So I began that pursuit, and I began that pursuit with the support of other people who had talked to me about having some of the same issues. And that's where I connected to the Massachusetts Clubhouse Coalition. And that's where we found the help that we needed. We started looking and searching, and we found a 12-step fellowship that had been designed just the way AA and NA had been, but for people like us. So we pursued it. And we found, this was in 1994, we found Dual Recovery Anonymous. DRA was founded by Tim Hamilton from Kansas City in 1989. And this was the place that I could go to for support where I could talk openly and honestly about both the addiction challenges and my mental health struggles. DRA was going to provide me with that opportunity. And this is where I thought I could begin to truly recover because I was keeping no secrets. DRA was founded, as I think I said earlier, by Tim in 1989. And Tim came, we contacted Tim and we asked him to come to the state of Massachusetts and to work with us so that we could get started and begin to develop some of these meetings in Massachusetts. He trained for us for about a week or so until the small group could fully understand how to start DRA meetings, to develop more DRA meetings, to understand leadership development, to really understand addiction and mental health and how they needed to be supported simultaneously in order for people to become well. So Tim gave us all the tools we needed to do to move forward and start to develop meetings in Massachusetts. He did come a couple more times. I think he came a total of 3 times. And since that time in 1994, our meetings have continued to grow. Prior to COVID, we had 50 in-person meetings in the state of Massachusetts. Right now, we have about 32 virtual meetings that are available. And Kim or somebody will be sending out the link to those virtual meetings at the conclusion of this recovery celebration. By going to these meetings, I started to live in a way that I never dreamed possible because I could be open and I could be honest. You know, I was able to talk about issues that I had regarding medication and side effects. I was able to learn how to talk to a psychiatrist. I had never previously worked with a psychiatrist, and I was able to attend DRA meetings, continue to stay connected to my AA meetings. And today, you know, I'm very happy to say that I have 36 years of consistent sobriety, but it really is due to the fact that I found not just one way to take care of myself. I found a couple of different ways. AA, DRA, there are so many pathways, and I suggest that you have an open mind and you really try to do as many things as are suggested to you as I did. And one last thing before I let you go that I forgot to mention, that this man, Tim Hamilton, who was like my hero, I asked him to be my sponsor, and he was my sponsor for 17 years until he died in 2013. And we've tried to carry on his legacy as best as we can without him present. But I honor him every time I attend a DRA meeting. So thanks for listening, and thanks for inviting me to share with you all today.
Thank you so much, Val, for sharing these powerful stories and reminding people that there are indeed these multiple pathways to recovery, multiple pathways. There are multiple pathways also to beginning to use, but how many people use to avoid feeling angry, anxious, or sad, avoid that prison of trauma, and they use drug or alcohol. And all of a sudden, there's another prison. We can manage this, but not alone, together. And being together, I am honored now to turn it over to Jamie Gazarian, who will tell you a little bit more about Jamie. Jamie, you're on.
Hello, my name's Jamie, and I'm a recovery support navigator here at Riverside. Recovering from opiates was one of the hardest battles in my life, and I would have never been able to do it alone. That's why I love my job. I get to help people believe in themselves again, and I get to show that recovery is possible. Just know that you're never alone ever again. And addiction is real, but recovery is possible. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to introduce Justin Clancy, one of the people who helped me believe in me, and I will be forever grateful. Justin is an artist based right here in Massachusetts. Justin believes that second chances aren't always a possibility to make things right, but they are an opportunity to prove resilience. And through his own trials and tribulations to substance abuse and mental health issues, Justin was given the gift of being able to extract the good by embracing his talents from the worst of times. It was an honor to work with him to show his story of resilience through one of his songs. So here's the video. There might be a lag due to some technical difficulties, but the link will be provided in the chat. But here's Work in Progress by Justin Clancy.
They say what's broken can't be redeemed. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm a work in progress, and it's a beautiful thing. You gon' get to where you go, just keep doing your thing. I'm a work in progress. Work in progress. They say Rome wasn't built in a day. A soul ain't a soul if the spirit didn't break. Life is like a maze, and I finally found my way, but it wouldn't be the same if I didn't feel pain. I do the best imitation of myself. I swear y'all know me better than I know. It took a million baby steps just to get to where I'm at. Isn't it a crazy story that time tells? I earned my stripes through trials and tribulations. I learned the best teacher is being mistaken. No silver spoon, just patience and motivation. Cause nothing ever comes easy when you're on your way to greatness. And I ain't even getting to the best part yet. As long as my intentions are pure, I'm all set. They see my pencil shavings and say, what you call that? I tell them I'm just sketching out my self-portrait, and it's a work in progress. They say what's broken can't be redeemed. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm a work in progress, and it's a beautiful thing. You gon' get to where you go, just keep doing your thing. I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. Now I ain't perfect, baby, I can't can't lie. You gotta take the good with the bad sometimes. I'm only human and I may fall short, but if you don't accept your flaws, you never gon' shine. I've been caught up in some shit that left me broken, feeling hopeless, like I'm stuck inside the breakdown lane. I ain't tryna be somebody that I never really was. I'm sorry, but that just ain't my thing. I was at war with that man in the mirror. I wanted more from the man in the mirror. I was lost for so long, but someone said, hold on, young man, your journey's just beginning. I'm in between a saint and a sinner, a loser and a winner. I got the same lows, but the peaks are higher than ever. Forever, I'll be grateful for second chances I'm given. The past will always be there, but the future is still unwritten. And you know, they say what's broken can't be redeemed. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm a work in progress, and it's a beautiful thing. You gon' get to where you're going, just keep doing your thing. I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress.
Am I supposed to kick it off? What do I do?
Justin, I am just fighting back the tears of having seen that video. I can only imagine, and I hope other people as well, but such a powerful, powerful video. Work in progress. Justin, tell us more about your journey and your
First off,
pathway.
don't cry. You have a great beard. There's no reason for you to be crying at all. I love you. You're amazing. So like these amazing people said, I'm Justin Clancy. I'm an artist, and I'm also a young person in long-term recovery. I just want to start off by saying, thank you for having me, and it's an honor and a privilege to be able to be here and be able to speak on my recovery and my story. I guess we'll start off. So I was born at Salem Hospital. No, basically what had happened was, my story is not that unique or different from anybody else's that has struggled with mental health and, substance abuse disorder. Long story short, it was the square block and the round hole, and growing up, I felt like I was not a part of, or I was different, everything like that. Being raised, I was raised by my mother and grandmother from a city outside of Boston on the North Shore called Peabody. And growing up, some of my earliest memories were visiting my father in prison. And, he is one of us, and my mother is also one of us. So, it was kind of like a pressure cooker growing up. And I had all these false ideations and these false ideas of what masculinity is and what being a man was, due to, going and seeing my father incarcerated, and that's how I was, raised basically. So immediately I gravitated toward the wrong group of people that I thought best represented masculinity. A reoccurring theme throughout my whole entire story is that everything that I was taught from the day that I was born was an absolute lie. Everything that I thought I knew was an absolute lie, right? That being the idea of masculinity was a complete lie. Not being able to, reach out and ask for help, that being a weakness, that was a lie, right? The first time I used an outside substance, I was 12 years old. But before that, I was part of the generation where, if you can catch a medication on your tongue, that's your diagnosis, right? So I remember being maybe 7 years old, and I was prescribed Adderall for the first time. And it gave me the idea that I needed a chemical solution to an internal dilemma, right? like I was already deemed by society as abnormal, or that like I wouldn't fit in, or I needed something to like make me acceptable within that society. So that was something that I carried with me throughout my life into my recovery, like amidst my active addiction, right? I won't get like too into depth about like how I used and what I used and, you know, everything like that, because we all know like we suck at doing drugs, like suck more than most people. You know, I definitely am not good at doing drugs. But you know, 12 years old was the first time I used, and then the last time I used, like I was, you know, 19 years old, and it started with weed, and eventually, you know, next thing I know, the last time I used, I was in the back seat of my mother's car on the way to detox, and I was yelling at her not to hit any bumps because I was bleeding all over the place trying to like hit myself, like shoot myself up, you know. And that's like where the chaos of active addiction took me. When I was using, I was no longer using to get high. It was more so to feel normal, right? I wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't afraid of death. I wasn't afraid of jail. The only thing that I was truly afraid of was the drugs not working anymore. And they no longer served their purpose, because towards the end of my run, they were no longer working. It didn't matter how much I did. It didn't matter how much I shot up, how much I sniffed, how much I put down my throat. The drugs weren't working anymore, and it wasn't doing what was initially intended. And basically I was just like using to die at that point, you know? I mean, some people have white light moments, some people don't. It's just a progressive thing. I personally had a very strong white light moment towards the end of my using, and it's something that definitely opened my eyes to like a higher power of some sorts. And it was basically a big part of my story is like self-harm and like suicidal ideations and, you know, things of that nature. So this is probably a couple of days before I got clean and the last time I used. I was in and out of like detoxes and treatments probably since I was about 14 years old, 15 years old, right? And I was at my wit's end. On paper, I, you know, was a high school dropout. I was looking at 2.5 years in jail, and I had really nothing to live for at that point. And my big thing was like I couldn't get aftercare, and you know I could only do like the spin cycles, the detox spin cycles. And I was in the bathroom at my mother's house, and I was like, you know, prepping to end my life. I had a belt wrapped around my neck. I was getting ready, you know, I was leaning forward. I was like essentially attempting suicide, right? So while this was happening, the house phone rang, and nobody calls the house after like 9 o'clock. And she screamed from the other room that I had gotten approved for a scholarship to a long-term treatment facility. While I was attempting suicide, she screamed that to me. And I thought, okay, like this needs to mean something, right? Like this has to mean something. Growing up, I always knew what my higher purpose was, and that was to make music and to heal through music and to like really go for it. I've been writing since I was probably 8 years old. You know, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, all of these things, right? And through active addiction, it just kind of, everything just kind of got swept from me, and I had all these dreams, and I thought that I would never be able to do them, and the drugs were just holding me back. So with that white light moment, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna really give this a college try. The drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff, that's always gonna be there. It's never gonna go anywhere, right? This opportunity, I don't know if I'll ever get this again, right? So I took it, and you know, God willing, my clean date is December 21st, 2013. And I haven't put a drink or a drug or a mood or mind altering substance into my body since then. And it was hard, man. Like I moved 2.5 hours away from home. I had nothing but a trash bag to my name. Like I said, I was looking at time, and I thought that my life was a mess, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to like start from the ground floor here, and I'm going to like really go for it. I had another epiphany in detox where when I first arrived, my case manager was like, oh, you're here for like the scholarship bed, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, about that. Do you think I could maybe come back in like 2 weeks? Like just hold that bed down, hold that spot down, and I'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll do it. And he was like, why wouldn't you just do it right now? Right. And without even batting an eye, like I just told him I didn't get high enough. I didn't use enough. It's a reservation because I am not high right now, which was like a lie because I arrived to that place flying in on a Dorito. I was rocked. So as soon as I said that, I came to the conclusion that like no matter how much I put into my system, what I do, it's never going to be enough. Like I have like this void inside of my soul that I try and fill up with anything that I like, you know what I mean? And even in recovery, like it could be money, it could be girls, it could be, you know, property, prestige, all of that stuff, right? But at the time it was, you know, it was drugs, lots of drugs. And I was like, you know what? That's not gonna happen. Like I can't go on like this. And it was like the gift of desperation. And the gift, there's like a spectrum to the gift of desperation as far as I'm concerned, right? Surrender is something that I have to familiarize myself with every single day. And it's not even necessarily within the realm of like using drugs. It's more so in the realm of like some shit I just can't control. You know, like I can't control how people see me. I can't control how people react to me. I can't control whether or not people like me. Really, at the end of the day, all I can control is how I react, how I respond emotionally, and where I take it. And that's pretty much it. So like, I try and keep things very simple with my recovery. I try and stick to my principles, to my ethics, values, and morals, and I have a good fucking time. Like I'm not like a victim because I'm in recovery. You know, there's like this stigma around like addicts and like they're these broken people, these broken souls, and they need nurturing and love and care, which is true. But within that same token, we are the most resilient, powerful, resourceful, and smart people that I've ever encountered in my life. We can do literally anything, man. Hey, I turned $0 into $300 so that I could go and put it in my arm and then not die and then go through all this crazy stuff. Like if I can do that and if I can come out the other side of that, I can literally do anything. And there's nobody that's going to tell me otherwise, right? Like I'm not shackled to my past to the extent where it's like holding me back anymore. You know, I am a productive member of society, right? And when I say that, I mean, I'm out there and it's not like a crutch. My recovery is not a crutch. Like I have a good time. I have fun. I got clean when I was 19 years old. I thought I would be doomed to just go out and go bowling every other week and be stuck in these church basements for the rest of my life, when really that's not the case. I have the opportunity to do literally whatever I want with my life. I can go anywhere, you know? And like, we all do too. Once you break those chains of active addiction and once you break the chains of yourself, you can literally do whatever the fuck you want, man. You are free to be yourself. And I think that is the most gratifying part of this whole entire process, right? And like the speakers have said before, there's a whole spectrum to recovery, right? Personally, I have like abstinent-based recovery, right? Like I attend a 12-step fellowship. But if you don't do that, I don't care. It's not my business. As long as like you're alive and you're not one of those names in the fucking chat. That's all that matters, is that you're here, man. Like people get it so twisted and they want to project and they want to push how they do things on the other people, when really at the end of the day, everything is different. Just as mental health is a spectrum, so isn't substance abuse disorder. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own path to recovery, and everybody has their own journey, you know? And we talk a lot about like compassion and care, and it can't be conditional. It can't be conditional on somebody doing or not doing what you want them to do, the way you want them to do it, man. And I'll tell you this, right? It's not all puppies and rainbows, and it's not all beautiful. It's life on life's terms. And that is super not tight. You know, like you have things like credit scores and rent and mortgages and shit like that that is not cool. But guess what? At the end of the day, it's really worth it, because in the grand scheme of things, I shouldn't even be here right now. I shouldn't even be alive. I have a very fruitful career. I have a very fulfilling life. The people I surround myself with love me genuinely for me, not just because I have money to throw down on a bag or I can get a good plug. You know, I have people that actually love and care about me. And I've been able to take that little dream of mine and watch it blossom. As soon as I got clean, I would sneak out of my halfway house to like go and do open mics and stuff like that. And like if I crossed state lines, I would violate probation, but I didn't even care because this was my dream. And I would go and I would do these things. And, you know, I started off and I was doing shows for like 4 people at these shitty little dive bars with just like a dream. And I'd go back to my halfway house and I'd sleep in a room with like 6 different dudes and it would smell awful. And I'd have my little trash bag full of like Champ hoodies and Champ sweats from Detox and stuff. And then like a couple years later, I open my eyes and I'm playing to a sold out House of Blues. Or I open my eyes and like I'm in Boston Globe. Or like as of May, like I signed my first record deal. Like this is my hat. Like I make my own clothes. People buy my stuff. Like I go to the post office and I ship stuff all over the country because they like me. You know what I mean? Like I never would have thought that my life would turn out this way. And granted, I owe it all to recovery and the principles that I've learned within, you know, my fellowship, but also like through this process and the way that I apply it to my life. You know, there's people that live in this whole thing, and then there are people that actually go and live it, you know? And I like to think that like I really go out and live it. You know, I go out and I take it to the next level. And that's all I want to do, you know, because we can do fucking anything, man. I'm getting hyped up right now. It's the coffee, I swear to God. But I'll wrap it up. I'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions or anything like that, you can follow me on Instagram at Justin_Clancy. If you're looking to have like a good time and a good sober time, October 15th, headlining the Middle East Downstairs. There's like 50 tickets left. It's going to sell out. It's going to be amazing. Come see how we get down for real. And that's all I got. Thank you guys.
Justin, thank you so much. So much. Aaron, if you can give me back my video control, I'll come back in here. Folks, there's so much to talk about with what Justin has just said and what Jamie was introducing, believing in yourself, having other people believe in you, and making sure you recognize you are never alone. You know, Justin's story is powerful. If you start using drugs or alcohol after the age of 21, 1 out of 25 people at risk for lifelong addiction. You start using before the age of 18, that number goes to 1 in 4. So Justin was one of those people before the age of 18, 12 years old, and yet it is not a final sentence. You can recover. You can get the help. You do not need to be stigmatized. Come out of the shadows. So thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. I now have the great honor and opportunity to introduce Mike Leslie. Michael, all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. So my name is Mike Leslie. I'm the Outreach and Development Coordinator and Recovery Coach for Connect Recovery, and I'm proudly in long-term recovery. It took me multiple pathways to maintain my recovery, as I've been through the steps in both AA and NA and practice meditation and mindfulness daily. I'd like to introduce Evan, who was actually my first and one of Connect Recovery's first clients. Evan's shown incredible progress, as you'll hear, and most definitely is a success story. He's put in a ton of work, not only on his recovery, but in all facets in his life, and is now truly thriving in all he does. So welcome, Evan.
Hey guys, I don't have a serious inspirational speech like Justin. I mean, my share is going to be serious, but it's hard to go after that, man. That was really amazing to hear your story. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to talk about my experience with Riverside and a little bit about my past and kind of where I'm at now. I mean, my history in terms of addiction runs in my family. My grandpa was a hoarder. My nana was a gambler. My mom, hoarder, along with being obsessed with Judge Judy. I don't know if that counts, but she's definitely got an issue with that show. My sister's gotten roped into the oxy epidemic in the late 90s. And now she's currently shooting meth on Mass Ave. So it definitely runs in my family. I never thought it would happen to me, and I never thought I would get into hard drugs. But after that first car accident and Percocet prescription, I just went down a long, dark road. Long story short, after 10 years of pills, which led to fentanyl, a few coke runs and crack runs, got to throw those in there, they count. I finally managed to get my life, quote unquote, together, whatever the hell that means. In the process of getting clean, I tried Suboxone, I tried Vivitrol, I tried the methadone clinic. I've tried falling asleep at AA meetings, whatever you can think of. What really helped me the most was getting with the team together and having like a complete base of support and a big team effort, and also wanting it myself and not just wanting it for my parents and family. I have a Riverside therapist who kind of introduced me to my recovery coach, who's helped me a lot. A few IOPs helped, and a lot of family support. I ended up getting my recovery coach, through the therapist at Riverside. I wasn't exactly sure what it meant to have one. All I knew was that he wouldn't push me in a particular path of sobriety, which was important to me. And the timing was good because I wasn't really clicking with my AA sponsor, because I was having like a lot of trouble with the whole God aspect of things. Don't get me wrong, AA has helped me tremendously, but it wasn't and still isn't the save all for me. I met my coach, Michael Leslie. We clicked right away, mainly because he could directly relate to my addiction and how hard it is to get clean, because he's been there. Michael was and he still is very helpful. He got me with a lot of different parts of recovery, a lot of different parts of recovery community. I never realized how big it was. He also helped organize my clinical care, which was real important. And I'm the type of person that kind of hates asking for help and always felt awkward calling my sponsors sometimes, but with my coach, it was a little different. Anytime I needed to meet up, talk on the phone, go to a meeting with someone, he was always around to pick me up and help me out. I actually ended up becoming a recovery coach myself, and kind of was inspired by him in Riverside. And yeah, I mean, Mike still answers the phone when I struggle, even though he's not technically my coach. And like when I need advice on how to approach things at my job with my clients, he's also gone out of his way to help me find programs for my sister, treatments. And so I kind of just saying this because I feel like some of the coaches in the program go above and beyond their job description sometimes to help, because it's just naturally what they love to do. And it kind of inspired me to want to do the same thing. So yeah, like I said, I became a coach. I work through BMC. I work in a pilot program. It's a jail diversion program for addicts, because judges are getting sick of throwing addicts in jail and getting no positive results afterwards. Instead, they join our program where we help get them clinical care, recovery coach, which is me, connected with housing, food, and helping any way we can. One of the main reasons I took this job is because its approach is similar to Riverside's, because it's a non-linear approach to recovery. They also believe that it's not one way to get sober, whether it's medication, harm reduction, drinking Red Bulls and smoking cigarettes, whatever. So basically, I'm not pressured or have anyone breathing down my neck, pushing a certain way to get sober. Job's going awesome. I love the people I work with and my boss. She actually offered me a higher position. Basically, life's gotten a lot better than worrying about, getting fentanyl in the morning so I can function and go to work and not be sick and curled up in a ball, to go to a job that I was eventually going to get fired from anyway, for nodding off. But I also took the recovery coach training through Riverside with Kim and Alan. The course was a week long, and yeah, it was really helpful. They really broke things down and simplified, made it really easy to understand how people tick mentally and how to approach certain clients if you do get into the field. A lot of role playing, which was great. So big shout out to the Riverside Community Care recovery program. But yeah, I mean, I still struggle every day with forms of anxiety and depression. But I look at it like life sucks better sober, believe it or not. I'm not trying to say I'm a success story, because in the overall scheme of things, I'm very early in sobriety. I'm about 2.5 years. And I'm not completely where I want to be overall, but I'm now a functioning member of society. And life still stinks a lot and it's on its own terms, but yeah, like I said before, it sucks a lot better sober. And I know, like, when something goes wrong, I'm gonna get through it, and I know I have the support I need and have the tools I need, to get through cravings and to get through high stress situations. And a lot of that is thanks to the Riverside program. They've helped me a lot, like seriously, no joke. And like I said, still continue to. I'm working to get my recovery coach certification. Not tooting my own horn, but I just feel like I should stress, like, when you get sober, there are things you can accomplish that you wouldn't have been able to, obviously. Like, I was just able to finish grad school, finally got my own place, back on my feet, not living in my parents' basement. Moving forward, I plan on continuing to stay connected with people in the recovery community, because it's so huge in Massachusetts. I never realized how many resources there were that people don't know about and can be utilizing. And yeah, I just want to help and give back and, provide as much care and help as I can to people, because I know when I was going through it, if I didn't have that, I could be dead, or who knows where. And like, when you're going through it, you definitely think you're never going to get even close to like a stable position, stable job, or functioning lifestyle. And yeah, it was a tough run, and I'm not gonna lie, life is still a bit of a struggle sometimes, and I don't think that will ever change for me. But it's so much better sober. And I'm just very grateful to be sober. I'm not the best public speaker. I don't really like speaking, but that's kind of where I'm at with my life right now and my sobriety, and setting goals for my future plans and hope to attain them. I'm just glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Evan, thank you so much for that inspirational story. And to all of the people who have contributed today, to Val, Justin, Evan, Jamie, Michael, all of you. You all have multiple pathways to recovery, but each of you demonstrate one commonality, one of my phrases: contribute to society to help with your sobriety. Contribute to society to help with your sobriety, because that is giving and increases your value when you remind someone of theirs. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Brianna. Brianna, you're on.
Thank you, Dr. Schramm. My name is Brianna Bowering, and I'm a recovery coach here at Riverside Community Care Connect to Recovery. I am also a person in long-term recovery. And in that time in and out of recovery, I've seen many people struggle to get and stay in recovery and to stay along a path that they've chosen. And for some, they end up losing that battle to addiction. Ending stigma and promoting the importance of multiple pathways is such a necessary way to combat addiction. Recently, I lost someone that was like a sister to me to this disease. She thought that there was only one way to get better and was held back by the stigma and misinformation out there, preventing her from getting the help that she needed. This dis-ease is felt by so many people, taking the lives of our loved ones. And I know so many of you feel that loss as I see the many, many names being put in the chat. And with that, we will now have a moment of silence for those no longer with us and those still struggling to find help.
Thank you, everybody. That is the silence that so many families are struggling with and live with today. The silence of those who have been taken by this amazingly powerful and threatening disease. But we are here together. We are here to celebrate the recovery and to celebrate the lack of those who are now past. We miss them. We miss them. There is some hope. There is some hope. While 18% of people now seek treatment and receive treatment, only 18%, it used to be only 10%. So we've more than doubled people coming in for care. Let's keep them coming in. We must remove the stigma. We must invite people out of the shadows. Come to Connect to Recovery. We're here for you. No one needs to